Okay, we are recording. Happy Monday. It's the last Monday of the month. Don't know how it happens, but every month seems to fly by faster and faster. We are already fastly heading into August. So I'm going to jump right into some announcements. And let me just, okay, there we go. All right, so Summit was announced. It's in St. Louis. So for those of you who are newer, Summit is a big freaking deal. Summit is our annual yearly conference. It is kind of like the Super Bowl for Beachbody, except way better. This year, obviously, it was virtual. And so I know many of you probably heard about it, saw stuff about it. I hope that you checked out the Beachbody Champions page. If you haven't, still do that. All the trainings are recorded there in Unit 10. So many good trainings, but there's just so much that you would not have gotten to experience with it being virtual this year that you need to experience live. Okay, so between the trainings, just the experience with your team, getting to meet everyone, be in a new city together, do the live workouts, all the things, I can't rave about it enough. Ask somebody that, there's a handful of us that went last year. I just can't tell you what an investment this would be. So the $150 ticket sale ends this week. It was $135 right after Summit ended last week. Guys, this is going to go away, and then I think it's going to go up to $165. So I promise you it will pay off. I promise you it's worth it. Just bite the bullet, buy it, and figure out the rest later, because I promise you you're going to love it, okay? MBF officially launched today to customers. So if you have I know a bunch of you started your groups today. So anybody that you know that is a customer that's been waiting to do MBF, make sure you're letting them know that it's available. So challenge packs are available as of now. And then I announced last Thursday that our diamond retreat is going to be in Utah. It is going to be November 11th through the 15th. So I just want to clarify again how you're going to earn that. So this is for all my PS coaches. So that includes anybody under Kelly or Nate, which are two of my business centers. So my mom and my husband. So if you're a coach under either one of them, you're still one of mine. So that counts. You need to be an active lifetime diamond. So any of you who are already active diamonds that have gone through the 6-week qual period, or if you go through that in between now and October 15th, or if you hit diamond by the 15th, okay, and enter your 6-week qualification on that date, then you've earned your spot to go, okay? So that's how you qualify. If you don't know what diamond is, Google it. Ask somebody, ask me. Most of you, I'm sure you probably know, but honestly, very simply, it's 12 coaches, 2 emeralds, 8 coaches, alone, collectively, whatever. It's not hard, okay? So bust your booty, earn your spot there, because it's going to be insane, okay? All right. Let me do our leaderboard. All right, guys, we have changed 30 lives together collectively as a team. I know we can do so much more. What did we do last month? We did like 60 lives or something like that. Like, I know we can do so much better than this. I know many of you are working very hard. So there's, what is it, the 27th, there's still 4 days left in the month. There's so much time. You can totally do this, okay? So I want to shout out Alex, who's at SC10, Jordan, who's at SC9, Kelly, who is my mom, my other business center at SC6, and Maddie, who snagged her spot over to Success Club. I just stopped recording. What's in the chat? I can't read it. Yay, Shan's at SC6. Wonderful. Awesome. Okay, and then we've got a handful of ladies that are almost there. So Christina, you're hovering right at SC4, so you're 1 life away. And then another handful of ladies with 1 life change. You guys, there's so much time, like I said. So our coach of the week is Christina, because I heard from a little birdie that she is going to pop Emerald on Thursday, and she is a brand new coach. She just joined, I think, like a couple weeks ago. Our top PV producer or volume producer is Alex this week. Top recruiter is myself, and I'm still giving away headbands this month for our Success Club prize till I run out of them. Also, you guys, if you do hit Success Club and you're one of my coaches, I am offering one-on-one calls. I'm not going to hunt you down for the one-on-one call. I'm going to ask that you ask me to do the one-on-one. I know some of you take advantage of that. Some of you don't, but like I said, it's there. I'm here to help. I'm here to do a one-on-one with you. But like I said, reach out to me to schedule it, okay? So with that, I'm going to hop right into our topic tonight, all right? And tonight I'm talking all about storytelling, okay? So this is honestly something that I know many new coaches, especially not even just new coaches, but coaches in general, this is like probably the hardest thing for many of us, right? So many people stop with coaching because they simply get so overwhelmed with the idea that they don't think that they have anything to share. They don't think that they have a story and or they don't have like some dramatic life. So like, what am I going to share? They feel like they have nothing to say, right? And then they get intimidated and they're scared because they look at, you know, coaches that are maybe even a couple months ahead of them, and they see their posts and they see, you know, how they're able to just write these things out. And they're like, oh, I could never do that. So they don't, right? What's this thing that a lot of coaches don't do, you know, or coaches that fizzle out is because they're not sharing consistently. But most importantly, it's not just that they're not sharing, it's that they're not sharing them. They're not sharing their story. They're not sharing any value, okay? They're doing what many of us commonly mistake is what they think they should do. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this topic tonight. I am actually reading Kendra Hall's book, Stories That Stick. I'm listening to it on Audible, actually. So my takeaway that I hope that you ultimately take after this call, if this is something that you struggle with, or if this is something that interests you or you want to get better at, please go listen or read her book. It's amazing. She actually was the keynote speaker for Summit this year. The recording, again, is in the Beachbody Champions page. If you go watch that video, you'll understand why, you know, you'll be able to see it and feel it firsthand, the power of just telling your story, okay? So the truth about storytelling is honestly that storytelling is not about talent, okay? And it's immensely important in business, okay? We get so stuck on like the tangible things when it comes to like, all right, I'm with Beachbody, so I sell fitness programs, or I'm a coach and I'm a fitness coach, and like that's all I am. We get so boxed in about Shakeology and products and, you know, the programs that we provide that we get so stuck in that mindset of like having to know all about all the challenge packs and all that stuff. And it doesn't matter. It's not about any of that, okay? In storytelling, here, let me move my bar. It's really bugging me. Okay. So it's not about talent, it's not about charisma, right? Another big limiting belief is that a lot of people think that they have to be extroverts to be really good at business or really good at sales or good at coaches, and that's just not true. It doesn't require any degree and it's not an unavailable skill, okay? It is a skill that we all can be taught, that you can be taught regardless of whether you're an introvert, extrovert, whatever. Okay, you don't need any sort of experience in this before coming into this, before starting to share your story, okay? But the biggest thing, the biggest barrier, biggest self-limiting belief that we all have is that we don't tell our story because we assume that we don't really have one in the first place. Like we assume that we are boring, that we don't have anything to share. You guys, it's the small stuff that matters, okay? It's the small, seemingly insignificant, minute details of your life that people want to hear about, okay? So you do have them, even if they're small, even if it's mundane, whatever you think, you're thinking in your head, you have one and they're worth telling, okay? So why does this matter? Like why story? Why storytelling? Because like I said, it's not at all like, what do we say in new coach training? We say that you are so much more. Like being a coach is just one piece of who you are. All right. Just because you signed up or you decided one day, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do this coaching thing. I'm going to become a Beachbody coach. Does not your life turn into all Beachbody coaching. Okay. You are so much more than Beachbody Coaching. This is just one small part of that, okay? What you do, what you press play on every day, and how your health and wellness story, your health and wellness journey is just one piece of who you are. Maybe you're a wife, maybe you're a nurse, maybe you're, I don't know, a professor, maybe you have kids, maybe you don't have kids, maybe you're in college, maybe I don't know, the sky's the limit. You are only, like, you are not defined by what you do, okay? You're not defined by the products that we use or the programs that you use. How many of you hate that? I hate that. Like, oh, because I ran a marathon, I'm a runner, or because I run. Like, how many conversations do you have are like, oh, I run, I do CrossFit, or I do this, I do that. Don't define yourself. We're not defined by anything, okay? So it's not about the product. The true value of it isn't gonna be, whether it's vegan or what the ingredients are, XYZ. It's going to be measured, and it's going to connect with your audience based on how it makes them feel. How has it made you feel? Because that's where the true measurement of value lies in, is what has it done for you, okay? So story illustrates that value and the usefulness of what you have to offer to your audience, to your customers, to your future customers. And story is what triggers emotion, okay? It's what triggers that, left brain or whatever, that part of our brain that, where we basically like to live, right? It's that easy part of our brain where we feel endorphins, and that's, oxytocin and all that stuff. We want to live in that side of our brain. We don't like to go to the other side of our brain where we have to think hard and where we have to analyze things. So it allows your audience, it triggers that emotion and allows your audience to see themselves in your story. Okay, think of reality TV, think of rom-coms. Why are people so obsessed with them? It's because we can see ourselves, maybe not all of ourselves technically, but like we envision ourselves in that story, right? So your story is what's going to connect your audience to you. And I promise you guys, like, this is it. If you want to figure out how to be successful, or if you want to figure out how, maybe this is honestly where you may, like, if you can master getting comfortable with sharing your story and doing it over and over again, you're going to find that this is not so hard, okay? You're going to find the fun. You're going to find the joy in what we have to do, because you're going to realize, just like, again, what we say, like, you are a professional conversation starter. You are a professional relationship builder as a coach. It's the same thing with this. Like, you're going to find that you're going to naturally be building these connections and these relationships, and you're not going to be working that hard, because your story, your content, what you're putting out there is already doing that work. Okay. Your conversations are going to flow. They're going to get so much easier and so much more natural, because you're going to already be out there sharing your story. All right. So there are 4 different types of stories that we all need in business. Okay. The first and the one I'm going to talk about the most tonight is the value story, okay? Because this is the one that will convinces your customers that they need what you have, that they need what you provide, okay? So I kind of emphasize, like, where I see all these coming into play for the most part. So when I say fitness and wellness, I mean, like, when you're inviting to your, in relation to your wellness journey, in relation to you inviting to your boot camps or challenge groups or whatever you call them, to your community. The second one is the founder story. So that's the one where, again, we kind of talk about our coach, like, I relate this more to coaching, where you're persuading, or you're trying to, let other people know that becoming a coach, or, signing up with you and becoming a coach is something that's worth their investment, right? So you're telling your story about this. You're telling how the decision, or how you came to the decision to become a Beachbody coach, and or how you were led there and where it's taken you, right? So sharing stories like that, sharing coaching stories, I see as founder stories, is like what drew you to coaching. The purpose story is more when, again, for coaching within your organization, within the people that you already have. So when you go live in your team page, or when we're on team calls, or you're talking to your team and you're trying to inspire them, or you're trying to inspire your challengers, that's more of like the purpose stories, right? where we're talking about our own personal struggles, how we overcame them, what's working for us, that kind of thing. These are going to be our purpose stories, right? So again, more so like something that you would find, or you're going to be sharing a lot of with your people that are already with you, that are already in your team, in your community. And then the customer story. So customer transformations, right? So allowing those who use your product or service to share their experiences with others, okay? So you do this naturally by shouting out people in your stories, right? Shouting out people for finishing their programs, or shouting out people within your boot camp when they finish a program, or they do something, you know, hit a milestone or whatever. These are you sharing their story, right? We like to do this a lot. It's that recognition piece. So going a little bit layer deeper and really telling, like, you know, again, you don't have to use names. You don't have to, you know, with permission, sometimes people want you to do this for them, but letting people know how you crossed paths with this person. How did you come to meet? How was it that they got entered your community? And like, what did these programs do for them? And where are they now? Where are they? Where are they at? How are they feeling? These are going to be your customer stories. So basically, you know, doing the work for you again to prove and show the value of what it is that you have to offer. These are like your, store these in your back pocket, right? You want to build these up and store these of customer stories that, you know, basically customer transformations. So what does it take to tell a story? Okay. So I wanted to share this quote because, like I said in the beginning, this is the belief that we have, is that to be a person is to have, or no, that we all think that we don't have a story, but to be a person is to already have a story, right? Like, we don't have to be anything or anyone special to have a story, okay? So I totally copied this and it did not do what I wanted to. I didn't go back and edit it, but basically there's 4 components to a story, okay? The first one is having an identifiable character, aka you, right? But this could honestly be anyone, but basically you're mostly going to be, this is going to be you. So it includes a specific person that your audience can identify and connect with, right? So again, this doesn't matter like who you are. It just matters that it's you, right? The second piece is going to be an authentic emotion. So who you are, so having the character, and what emotion is that character feeling. So including the emotion that the character experiences at, is experiencing or experiences. And then a particular moment, okay? So this is what we're gonna talk about, is like typically the explosion. So it's gonna be like the key point in the story where something changed or something happened. So it's an event in your life, or like I said, a moment, or like an aha, or a realization that you had. So what is that particular moment? And then the last thing that got cut off is specific detail. Okay, so this is like where I think we like having any one of these things is obviously gonna like really connect and really convey more strongly. Like, it's gonna add more value to your audience. So like, even if you don't have all 4 of these things in your story, if you have 2 of them, 3 of them, as many of them as you can have, you're going to have a stronger, more conveying story, all right? A story that sticks, okay? But the specific detail piece is so powerful, because it could be something so small, like, you know, for say you're a mom, like, you know, struggling to get a stroller out of a car, or if you're a nurse, like, you know, you could talk about like something so like, I don't know, like when clocking out of your shift, or, you know, a specific moment with a patient or whatever, like some small detail that only you and your audience would really truly understand. Or like if you're, you know, a new or pregnant right now, something that deals only with pregnancy, or if you are, you know, I don't even know, like whatever phase of life that you're in, or if you're in school right now, you're in grad school, then you're going to talk about some specific detail related to in that story that, again, is going to just make it that much stronger and connect that much more with the person that you're really speaking to. Because if that's the season that you're in, or if that's where you were when you joined, you want to transport your person, the person reading that story, back to where you were at. You want them to be able to visualize where you are and kind of walk themselves through your story as if it were them. And so these little specific details, like I said, can be super powerful to really, again, just like nail it, right? To really like make it hone in and stick in their brain. All right, so I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the value story because I feel like this is the thing, this is the story you're going to tell the most. Like I said, we talked about like things that you're going to be sharing most often, but then there's things that I think you're kind of going to do more interpersonally, like within your team, within your community. But as far as your social media goes, as far as you putting yourself out there goes, is the value story. I think this is like the bread and butter, and this is the thing that I took away the most from this book. And it's such a simple format. So I want you to write this down, screenshot this slide, something, because this is honestly something that I am going to make sure, like, as I listen to this, I'm like, this makes so much sense, and it makes everything so much easier when it comes to sitting down and trying to like write up a post, right? Write up a story. So what you're going to want is you're going to have normal, an explosion, and a new normal. Okay. So normal, where you were, how you felt, right? Life as it was. Explosion, the event, the thing that changed, the aha moment, whatever the thing that happened. And then new normal, where you are now, how you feel now, what happened, what changed, right? So normal, explosion, new normal. Okay. So the value story is super valuable because it closes the gap. And this is constantly what we're trying to do as businesswomen or as coaches, people with something of value to share, something we know that we have that can help other people. But we need to bridge the gap. Okay. So the value story is going to bridge that gap, and it's going to close that gap between the problem that your customer has and the solution that you have that can help them. Okay. It's going to close the gap between the product and your customer. Okay. Because again, they're going to be able to see, through your experience, how that product can help them, right? They're going to see through your experience how their problem can be solved with what you have to offer. And it's going to close the gap between what you offer and whether or not people know that they need it. Okay. So it's going, again, like we talk about, we don't want to be salesy. This is the way not to be salesy. Okay. Because you're sharing your story and you're showing people through your stories how what you have to offer is what they need, because it was what you need and you struggled. You were going through this, you felt this, then this happened, and now you feel this way, right? So people don't need, like, they don't buy the thing, right? Like people aren't signing up for Beachbody and Shakeology when they join you. They're joining for you. They're joining because they connected with you. They want your coaching. They want to be a part of your organization. They want to be a part of your team because they connect with you as a person. They connect with your story, your journey. They see you. Yes, they may see you on your stories every day, but that's not why they come back and watch every day. They come back and watch because there's something about your life that they connect to. Okay. So they don't buy the thing. They buy what the thing will do for them. And that is only going to be conveyed by you. Okay. So this is where I'm going to talk about where we go wrong, right? And this is, if you do this, I did this, oh my God, we all do it. This is pretty much, I feel like, where we all start. And this is where we all logically think is what we have to do. We think that information, like knowing all the things, and we think the more information we give someone, right? Someone comes to us and like, yeah, tell me more about it. Or yeah, I'm interested. We immediately shoot to word vomit all the detail, right? We think that we need to give them facts and prices and, ingredients and all that stuff. When actually doing that, you guys, is what's going to do more harm than good, okay? We think jumping into the info is what we need to do, when really, truly, we want to stay in that easy zone. Like I said, like we want to stay in that feel good zone. So this approach often is what I think causes people to ghost, causes people to run away because they get overwhelmed. It muddies up an easy yes. Like we are the ones that put our foot in our mouth and we screw up an easy yes, right? Because we all know what those easy yeses are like, right? When you come out and you like the people that I invite, and I'm just like, because we've already connected. I already know we have things in common. They've already seen my posts. They've already seen my stories and stuff. And I'm like, girl, you should really do this with me. And like, and then the conversation just goes so quick and so easy because we're not talking anything logistic. I know this can help them. They've seen it work for me. And I tell them how I feel and it just flows because we're staying in that easy zone, right? We're not getting caught up in these details because the details don't matter, right? Maybe obviously someone has health condition and they want to know like allergies wise or whatever. But like really, truly, I paid $200 when I signed up for this program. I paid $200. I didn't even have $200, but I wanted the solution. I saw my coach. I knew through her story that I could see this working for me through what she was sharing. I could see myself in her. So at the end of the day, I threw down the money that I didn't have on my credit card because I wanted that solution, right? So more data explanation is what most people expect. That's why network marketing, or that's why a lot of online businesses people get bad raps, right? Because people expect us to word vomit on them. They expect us to just drill them with like, right? But if our goal is to convince them of our value, then this is what we need to stop doing. We need to start avoiding this, okay? We need to lead with our story. We need to lead with value. We need to lead with feeling, okay? Because all that data, all that stuff is what causes people to get more over into that right-sided brain, right? That more analytical, logical, factual part of our brain, and no one wants to be there, right? When you're thinking of the fact that you want to feel good in your body and you want to feel better in your health, you don't want to be stuck over like in, whatever land. You want someone that gets you. You want someone that feels the way that you feel, and you want to feel that way, and you just want to feel good, right? And you want someone to just give you that confidence that they have what you need and they're going to guide you along the way, right? Because they're doing it right alongside you, or they're doing it, they're a few steps ahead of you, okay? So that system 1 is that part of our brain, like I said, that's emotions and feelings, right? That's the good part of our brain. Then there's system 2, which is the factual analytical side. So we want system 1, we want to avoid system 2. The value story is what gives system 1 like that fuel to do what it does best. It's like what sets them up to do what they do. Like it sets us up for the win, to go with the flow. So they accept the story as it's told, and they don't even want to bother with system 2. They just don't care. I mean, I know that you all, even if you're brand new, I know that you've experienced something like that. Like take coaching out of it. Think of something where you went to a friend or you went to a family member and you're so excited, and you had something that you knew that they needed, and you just like you need this, you're gonna love it, it's made me feel all this way, blah 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 blah, or they're amazing, you need this, or they're like, okay, yes, I want that, let's do it. That's what I mean, you guys. Like, this is what we want, okay? This is what we're aiming for. So they accept the story and they don't even bother with system 2, because we know that most people just get kind of weird and kind of miserable and cranky when they're in system 2 mode, okay? So the story is the love language. It's the system 1 love language, and it's what in that value story. So that normal, explosion, new normal is that perfect bridge, right? That will get your customers or the people you're trying to speak to away from facts and into the feeling zone, okay? So it's like proven that audiences respond way more positively and they accept ideas way more readily. It's basically like the primer for your audience to be more readily open to what you're presenting them, because it's coming in story form. It's coming in a form that they can absorb. It's coming in a form that they can connect with, okay, instead of bullet points. And well, you need it because it's this, right? Or, oh, well, it's $160. You get this and this and this. No, like, that's why we lead with excitement. That's why we keep it brief. That's why we just want to share, that you're going to love this. I'm so excited for when you do this, blah, blah, blah. We want to stay in that system 1 type of mode because we don't want people to get over into system 2. Okay. So finding and crafting and telling your story. So like I said, there's so much content. There's like just so much goodness in this book. So I really tried to take the stuff for you as much as I could to give to you tonight. But like I said, if you want more deep dive into this, you're going to need to read the book or listen to it. But these are really great. These, again, great places to start. Jot these points down and take some notes. Or again, I can put up this presentation and you can like have this, because like all these questions are super great prompts for you. So let me just dive into it. Okay. So think of your first. A great primer, a great thing to start with is to think and focus on all your firsts in your life. Okay. And these don't have to be big ones. Like, again, this is just a great prompt for you to think back of like all your first moments. Okay. So you might not even end up telling, some of these things, like, or the story you end up telling might not have anything to do with your actual first, but it might help you remember how you used to feel back then, or something else that happened to you, or just, again, like, so first time you rode your bike, or first time you, I don't know, first run you ever took, or first time you worked out, or first time you got your heart broken, or first time you traveled alone for the first time. These are all great things for you to think back of, like how you were back then. Like, who were you when you did that? Or how did you feel as a person? How was your confidence? Like, what stage of life were you in? These are great things to get you back to that normal, that pre-normal stage, to help get you thinking back into that time. Making a list of all customer objections and questions. Okay. So again, like we say all the time, if you get an objection in your inbox, then that usually needs to spin around and be a post, right? If you're getting a lot of, I don't have the monies, then you need to tell a story about, how you first joined, or a time when you didn't have the money and you did it anyway, right? You need to think back to times, those first, or, moments you've had where you were flat out broke, but you wanted something so bad and you did it anyway, and how it, better changed your life as a result, or brought a positive as a result, right? So the most common objections, you guys, is honestly great fuel. It's amazing fuel. Like, if you get, I know for me, like I've taken, I don't get this anymore, but when someone said to me once that they thought what I was doing was a pyramid scheme, I went and I wrote a post about how this wasn't a pyramid scheme, or basically like, how that was a big fear of mine. Like, when I first joined, I thought this was a pyramid scheme too. And I was like very scared, and I cared so much what people would think of me doing this, because of thinking it was a pyramid scheme. And then I talked about what changed, and how like I've grown to, and how coaching has changed my life, and how I've learned, what coaching has done for me. And I basically like just combated the ignorance of assuming that it was a pyramid scheme. Or I've seen Alex do this, like really combating objections about time, or objections about money. I've seen Shannon do this. Like, so these are really awesome things and necessary things for you to talk about, especially when you're enrolling, or in that season of the month where you're inviting to your boot camps and stuff, because you're going to hear this, right? And the greatest way to reach a lot of people is to publicly put it out there through your story, right? Through your page, on your timeline, okay? In your stories. You can even talk about this in your stories. So again, like, instead of like combating people in your inbox and giving them like logical data of stuff like that, keeping them, like, giving it through a story form is going to be way more digestible and way more relatable. And it's going to reach people a lot better. if that makes sense. Then again, diving more into like the specific points that you like, specific facts of why it's not a pyramid scheme. Asking yourself lots of questions. Okay. So this is like a really long paragraph because she had a lot of prompts, but again, when have you had to be resourceful in order to survive? What was the worst day in the history of your business? When have you made a customer cry for good reasons and bad? When have you stopped a customer from crying? What's the hardest thing you've ever done in business? Whose life is different because of your business? What is your proudest moment in your work or business? What one decision could your company or business not survive without? What was your first sale, your most meaningful sale? Who is your most satisfied customer, least satisfied customer? What was your most embarrassing moment? When has someone said you couldn't accomplish something? When was the moment you knew this was worth it? So right there, oh my God, I think you have enough stories. Like, I'm sure if you can think about, like, if you wrote all these down and you actually like thought about it, you have enough content, enough stories like to last you forever. Like, honestly, because the thing is true, you guys, is like, we don't need to always be coming up with a new story. You repurpose stories all the time. Like, I tell my story, you know, of like when I first started coaching or when I first joined Beachbody. I tell versions of that story all the freaking time, right? Because I don't know, you never know, when sharing it one day is not going to then connect with your people that start following you or you start talking to 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you know, a year later, right? So you need to be telling it all the time, monthly. Like, as you are, you know, going through the month, like, always be sharing these things and never feel like you're being repetitive, because I promise you, one, people don't remember. Two, people don't remember and they need to hear it way more than once. And three, like I said, you're always going to have new eyes. You're always going to be having new people coming in. You need to be telling these stories and you need to be sharing constantly. That's why we, you know, truly, if you aren't being consistent, if you aren't showing up at least 4 days a week on your Instagram or your Facebook, whatever platform that you use, and you aren't providing that value, you're not going to have that connective tissue. You're not going to have that trust built with your audience, right? You're not going to get to that easy zone where, like I said, where like you're so consistent and you've shared so much value that when you get to the invite, that it's so much easier and it flows so much better, because you've already primed them up, right? You've already put it out there. You've already shared your story. You've already built that, you know, connection, that relationship. Okay, so to recap, the storytelling framework is normal, explosion, new normal. Okay, so you really honestly to do this, you just need those scraps. You just need, like, I'm sure as I'm talking tonight, you're already like kind of thinking back on like examples of stories, right? So you just need those scraps, those little memories, right? Those little moments that you can recall and think of, right? You know, in your brain right now. And then those 4 components, right? So character, identifiable character. What was number 2? A specific moment. Oh my God, I have to go back. Oh, yes, no, emotion. Okay, yes. Identifiable character, emotion, specific moment, and then details. Okay, so those are the 4. I gotta fix that slide so it's easier. Oh my God, I got myself lost. Okay, so those 4 components, and then the story you've chosen to fit your objective. Okay, so whatever it is that you're feeling that day or you're trying to convey to your audience at that moment, right? Whether you're trying to combat a certain objection, or you're trying to you're doing a coaching post, or you know, you're trying to get people interested, or you're trying to share more about coaching, or you're trying to invite to your boot camp, or you're sharing more about your journey, or you're trying to get people to better or to know you, all whatever it is that your objective is. So my best recommendation, and what Kendra recommends is to start with that middle piece. Start with the explosion, because like I said, those events, those moments are the things that we probably recall the easiest. So, and thinking back on the event is going to better allow you to think back of what your normal was back then, right? So like when I think of, say when my ex-boyfriend and I broke up, I remember that event, and remembering that event allows me to think back to where I was at that time in my life, who I was, how I thought, what I thought about myself, what my normal was, versus like trying to think back to 2014 and like what was I doing back then, right? Like what was my brain going through back then, right? Or when you got a new job, or when you again traveled. So when I lived abroad, like I can think back to moments like that when we first moved, when we left, all that stuff. Like I can think back to certain events like that, when we got married, when I started my new job, my nursing job. All of these are key events in my life, right? Not really huge events, right? Take away the traveling piece, and I'm just like, that's the one interesting thing I have in my life, right? But like, we all have these things, but they're so relatable. Starting jobs, going, getting married, getting engaged, traveling, whatever it is, like a pet died, a family member died, we all have these things. We all can relate to these things. It's just, we think that it's boring, or we think that it's not anything special because it's so familiar, right? It's just so normal life to us, right? So start with the middle, because honestly, like I said, we think we don't have a story, when actuality these things are stories, right? This is our story. Right. So we don't really know, we can't really find that contrast, or we don't see the contrast in our own life until we can really find that normal, see the explosion, and then obviously understand and come to see how our new normal is, right? So I think like a lot of us have had these moments, probably if we've been coaching for a little bit, like, or maybe you've been just doing this for a few months, you probably didn't even realize, how sad you were, or how depressed you were, or how uncomfortable you were in your body, or how stuck you were, until now. Because after that explosion of you joining or starting that program or completing that program, or starting coaching, or getting, changing that first life, you didn't even really know what your normal was and how contrast it was to your now, because you didn't, you needed that explosion, right? You needed that change for you to be able to see that contrast. Okay, so the big lie. Like I said, we all think that we don't have a story, but in actuality, we don't need anything special, right? In order to have stories, the big lie out there is that in order to have a story worth telling, that you need to have a life worth living. You need to have some big dramatic life. You need to have a Kardashian drama-filled life, and that is just so not true, right? You look at top coaches, and this is something we all do. Again, like, it's so easy to fall into this trap of looking at a successful coach and thinking, oh, I can't ever be where she is because I don't have that story. Like Ashley Molstad talks about how she was suicidal, and she was like Emily Favre, went through a terrible, went through all these miscarriages, all this stuff. That is her story. We can't take away, you can't take away someone's story. That's her story. And before she had her explosion, when, everything changed, when she started AD Obsession and then her business blew the F up, she was just like you and me, right? Barely hitting Success Club every month, not really interested in the coaching thing, really was half-assing it, all that stuff. Like, if you listen, like, that is her story, right? Until she had her explosion, and now this is her new normal. So you're watching her in her new normal. Same thing with Ashley and Molstad. It's like, until she had, her explosion of basically when her, business blew up with Emily, did she really have this new normal, right? That we all see her now as is a super successful coach. Like, you can't look at someone's chapter 10 and think that you'll never get there, right? You can't compare that. So don't fall into the lie right now in the very beginning that you don't have a story worth telling, or that you can't be there, or you can't help people, or you can't build that kind of a successful business, because you can. All right. Our lives are full of stories. And I promise, if you go back and do that prompt and you think back of all these things, I'm sure you have a lot of valuable crap to share, and you're just not sharing it. Okay. So if you ever think you don't have a story, it's not that you don't. It's just that we are so used to thinking of our life as life. It's life as just normal, everyday life. Why would anyone be interested in it, right? But we are. Clearly we are. Like, why do we have social media? Why are people obsessed with Facebook and Instagram and reality TV? We love watching other people's lives, and we love talking about it, right? We love TikTok because it's literally like mundane, making fun of the mundane life, right? Of our everyday life. Oh my God, I think that's it. I saw some stuff in the chat. Oh, yes. You will freaking love it. It's such an easy, like, listen. I love her. I love her voice. I just think she is like, I wish we were there, like, in person to, like, see her keynote, because she's just so good. But there's just so much more, like, takeaway. And she goes through all the other stories, like the founder story and all that stuff, which is obviously, like, worth it. But I think that most often what we're doing in our own pages, in our own businesses, we're sharing that value, we're sharing our story. And I just think that breakdown, normal, explosion, new normal, oh my God, I feel like it just makes everything so much easier. So, all right, guys, does anybody have any questions? I know that was a lot of content. I can upload the PowerPoint into the team page after I fix it. If you guys want to be able to look back on those slides for those questions, or share it with your teams or whatever like that, because I really think that I want, like, everyone to see that, because I know it's helpful for me, even just to, like, think it, read it, and, like, think about it for myself, because we all get to that point where we're like, we're thinking of what else to share, or we run out of things or ideas, and we get caught up in that. Like, we feel like we're in such a boring season of life. Like, I don't have anything to share. Well, we do, right? So I think the more that we can get used to asking ourselves those questions, or just get used to that framework, like, we'll never run out of stories. You will literally never run out of stories. All right, guys, I could blabber all night. Thank you guys for hopping on. I'm so appreciative of it. I will get the recording up tomorrow. I'll see you guys later. Bye.